Hi, I'm Tom at Crimson Guitars and I'm going to do a mini-torial on cabinet scrapers and how to get a good edge. Right, first I need a cabinet scraper and I also need a burnisher. Now, we've got a couple here. This is quite a common one. This one is actually made from an old file, but the main thing it needs to be is some really hard steel that's not going to scratch. Then, assuming we have got an edge on our previous scraper, we need to flatten that off by running this flat on there. I'll do it on all four edges. Now the other thing, quite often when I've got a new scraper, I'll actually polish these surfaces up with some stones, and that will give you a much finer edge. Any of these kind of lines and scratches will sort of transfer to be nicks on the edge of your blade. But for most scraping, it's fine as it is. If you want to get a really good finish though, you can polish this right up. Now I've got rid of my previous edge or any remnants of it, the next thing I want to do is put it in my vise, and I want a fine single cut file, and that will I'll use to work on this edge and get a sharp edge basically. So I want to keep that square, and I want a smooth cut until I start to get a little bit of a burr. Nearly there. Again, if you've polished up the sides, then you'll know that this is flat, and you'll come to this won't be so rounded over, and you'll get to your burr quicker. And also, if you do want that fine finish, then you can also, once you've filed on here, polish that up with the sharpening stones again and get a much finer cut. But for the majority of it, this is just fine from what you mostly use it for. Clearing out the filings rather. So now I've got my sharp edge. I want to flatten that off again, and this is the setting part, which is what most people find difficult and struggle with, and it's the important bit really. So I'm holding this flat on the scraper to flatten that off, and then also running it flat on the bench really, and that will help create our edge and create the burr that we want to cut with. Right, so now it's the important bit. I'm going to hold my burnisher just a little bit off square. So there's square, you want to be just slightly off when I'm holding it. And then pulling this, I'm going to drag this across, and now for some reason that rolling your wrist like this seems to help me. I've tried it without dragging it across, and I don't know what the difference is, but rolling my wrist always helps. So I want to just drag that across 3 times ideally. Okay, so that should be good. Let's find out. There we go. Nice shavings. If you're not creating shavings, then you need to reset the burr. I won't file it every time. I'll flatten it off and then do the setting with the burnisher quite a few times before I need to refile it again. But as soon as I start creating dust rather than shavings, it's the time to redo it. And as I'm using the scraper, I'll keep changing the angle this way, and that will ride across any high points there is in the wood. If you keep it the same way, you'll end up following those dips, and those will just get accentuated. So whenever you use a scraper, it's good to keep changing the angle, and that way it will keep things flat, which is one of the great things about the scraper, is it will keep things flat. So as you can see, we've got some pretty good, nice shavings there. As soon as as I said, as soon as I start getting dust, I'll go back to the burnisher, flatten that off, and reset that edge. And I'll be able to do that quite a few times until I need to go back to the file. The other thing is, yeah, the more you polish this up, the nicer the finish is going to be. But other than that, most of the time, that's just great for most of the stuff you're going to use it for. It's one of my favourite tools, actually. So useful. Right, I've been Tom at Crimson Guitars, teaching you how to sharpen your scraper. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you around.